All right. Well, before we potentially circle back to Aljo, one of 2 winning fighters to get booed at UFC 300. No, I'm just kidding. I got to give it to you a little bit,
Hey,
right?
listen.
No, come on.
He's not. That's not
I'm just
unusual.
kidding.
Him
I
getting
love
booed.
him.
Yeah.
Huh? What?
He's not. That's not a new thing for him to
No,
get
of course
booed.
not.
So.
No, and I just DC wondered aloud during one of these fights. Like, I just don't understand how mixed martial arts as a sport, and we're not going to talk about this today, but how does mixed martial arts get booed as a sport when wrestling and grappling is a part of it? Like, when the fight transitions to one part of the sport, it's just interesting, like, to see if
crazy.
NBA athletes got booed for making layups instead of 3-pointers or something. It's just weird.
I think my biggest advice to him, John, in between whichever round it was, don't fucking listen to this crowd, man. Do not let them become a factor in this goddamn fight. You are doing unreal. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And he learned his lesson in that last fight against O'Malley. I don't think he really needed to pressure. I think he was rushing himself and then, got caught with that shot. But the thing for me, Ray, I think, which I probably saw incorrectly, I saw an Aljamain Sterling that had way more pep in his step. He had way more strength and was timing things really well. And I think there were some question marks on my part of going, can his strength translate to 145 pounds? And that was not a problem. I didn't see that really being a problem at all. He's that strong. And then as far as the energy that he brought, this is a much better. I think he was probably showing maybe 75% of what he actually had in 35, and obviously still doing extremely well, being a champion who defended the belt. But I think we're going to see a much better Aljo now at 145. I think he at least proved that and is on that right foot. Well, now he knows what he can do up a weight class.
And Kenny Calvin's a big dude.
He's a big 45.
He's a big 45er, man.
That was a concern. And he didn't have a problem in the strength department.
Listen, Aljo's skill set and his set of attributes, if he ever decides to really use them, and he knows how to fight within himself. But you see, like those spin back kicks that Holloway was landing on Gaethje. You got to trust me on this. He could do that blindfolded. Like, I see him do it. And then, and I'll always tell him, obviously I'm the striking guy. So, I put my 2 cents in with that stuff, but that's easy for him. Easy. And he might tell you differently. I'm telling you that from watching and he's got so many other tools that he hasn't really shown yet that, it's going to come a point in time he's going to let everything go completely. I think on that end, the grappling he's got down to a science.
There might be a matchup that necessitates that he use those things at some point in time, especially up 10 pounds, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Certainly, we've always known he's a flashy, decorated, dynamic striker, but it's one thing to do it, in one setting and another. Guys, we're not talking about Aljo. We're live right now. We're not talking about. You want to talk about Anthony Delemy right now, or can I get back to fucking Max?
No, let's give a shout out to Anthony Delemy. Great win for him.
No, I said no.
Later?
No, I said later. Yeah, we're not doing that. You do it real quick right now. I then get back to Max.
No, we're going back later. No, you're not going to rush Anthony Delemy. We'll go back to him. Go, move on. Let's go.
We'll get to fucking Delemy
later.
Are you
fucking kidding me with this thing? I'm jet lagged.
So Charlie Moynihan, one of my dear friends, longtime ESPN producer. He's been producing for ESPN 25, 30 years, if not longer. I'm not trying to date the guy. But I come up to do the post-fight show with Teddy Atlas and Brett Okamoto, and Charlie says to me, and this guy has covered it all, NBA Finals, Super Bowl for years. He goes, after the Holloway thing, he says, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen, right? When you parlay all the factors, the BMF title fight, the fight itself, the knockout with 1 second to go, the UFC 300 angle, right? So whether or not you believe this to be the greatest knockout in UFC history, alongside Anderson Silva, Vitor Belfort, Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo, Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman, right? Ray, a lot of people are saying, as UFC fans, combat sports fans, this is the fucking greatest thing they have ever seen. So I asked the poll question at Anik Florian Pod, like, is this the greatest thing you've ever seen? And yes, there will be some recency bias in there. But I'm just saying, 70% of, 5 or 10,000 people believe that what we saw Saturday night was the greatest fucking thing they've ever seen. So where does it stack up for you?
It stacks up as probably the greatest thing I've ever seen. I'll tell you why. Because the guy's ahead in the fight. He's got nothing to gain except getting knocked out by a guy that has the ability to put you out with one punch. And with 10 seconds to go, he plants his flag in the middle of the octagon. Let's fucking go. And he knocks him out with 2 seconds to go. That's some Hollywood shit that you wouldn't even believe if they put in the movie. You'd go, yeah, that'll fucking happen, right? But Holloway, this is why the guy, look, He didn't have to do that. This guy's a fucking fighter, man. This is what the UFC wants. Who could blame him? That was absolutely phenomenal against a guy that's considered an absolute killer. Let's fucking go. He moved up in weight. Look at all the factors that make it the greatest knockout ever. He's a 45er moving up. Gaethje's an absolute assassin who'll put his body on the line for anything. Up in the fight, nothing to gain except he has the chance to get knocked out. And look what he does. Look what that. No risk, no reward, no guts, no glory, whatever fucking saying you want. This is the guy. Holloway is the fucking man, and he's going to remain the man. And that just guaranteed him a title shot at Topuria for 100%. I'm sure of that. I don't know what else to say. Like all those other knockouts came within the fight, same weight class, not some good company behind, but nothing like this where it was the timing, the pacing, like anything else, like a movie, like a stand-up comedy set.
Yeah.
His pacing and the timing of everything was absolutely beautiful, and he pulled it off.
Yeah.
It would have been good if he didn't knock him out. It still would have been good, right?
Right.
It would have been, but he knocked him flat.